All right, now let's say our partner realizes that they've got two hands.
Yeah, something that we experience a lot in class, especially when we're doing like the fuck you jiu-jitsu drills and stuff like that, is people will realize a way that they can kind of win the drill essentially.
Yeah.
Where as soon as I fall to the ground and Rob's doing his, I'll just collect both legs.
Yeah, and then we end up in this little like teeter-totter sort of seesaw battle. And again, because people get so tunnel visioned on the technical stand-up being an action that involves withdrawing the leg, they just keep trying to do the same thing rather than focusing on a base switch, which is not going to be viable in this case because whichever direction I go, he's still controlling the end of the lever. We can just focus on a post switch instead. So I'm not going to try to withdraw my right ankle. I'm going to fall to one side and I'm going to build base on my right knee. So in this case, you notice I've brought myself into like almost like a single leg X or a butterfly ashi more aptly, where I'm going to start to let go of this leg. And this is the important part, is when I let go of this leg to create a post. So I'm posting on my right elbow and I wanted to post on my right foot. That's not possible. So rather than trying to keep posting on my right elbow, I'm going to post on my left hand. But as I do, I'm going to focus on my left knee passing to the outside of his left hip. And I'm going to be creating a bit of a wedge here with my right thigh as I build up onto my right knee. So I just post switched instead of base switching. The post that I wanted, elbow and foot, not available. So I switch to hand and knee. But if I just went hand and knee like this, Rory can now withdraw and he can sort of do the same thing to me that I was about to do to him. He can either base switch or he can post switch. So I make sure that as I transfer across, I drive my knee into him. I create enough of a wedge that I can just tip him over. And you notice because Rory's committed to holding my ankle, he's got no base to that back corner. And this is a position that you will end up in. In the gi, this is great. You can now take a collar grip, start extending, and potentially going directly to a pass or a choke. In no gi, you will get on top in a position where you may be able to back step into the legs or re-attack the legs after they let go, etc., etc. But it's a fairly simple matter of going from elbow to hand and foot to knee. One thing I'll mention safety-wise while we're doing this, when I make this transfer, if I don't bring my foot underneath and my foot gets stuck here, if I try to build up too much, if Rory keeps pulling and pushing, this is a potential hip or knee injury. If you try to drive forward when your hip is externally rotated and your foot is being pushed towards you, depending on your level of flexibility, for some people this is very safe. I'd argue this is safe for nobody on a long enough time scale. Even if you're quite flexible, eventually an injury will potentially happen. But regardless, I'm not going to be successful driving forward into this anyway, so just don't do that. If this happens, this would be a time to start trying to grip break and recover my ability to actually base properly. So basically, don't go forward on a pigeon pose.
That's for our student Chris.
Yeah, we've got a few. BJ Penn did this successfully in a fight against Matt Hughes. There are a few individuals that can get away with this, but just as a general rule, please do not try to use a post switch when your foot is being extended outwards. Make sure that you just try to withdraw this foot underneath. So again, just to go over that specific detail, as I start to do this, I'm trying to tuck my right foot underneath Rory's butt. So when I go forward, it's stabilized.
I pull it into my own ass.
Yeah, exactly. He's got to pull my foot into his ass. I am no longer worried about my hip being externally rotated. I can start to build up. I can attempt to break this grip, but it's honestly not all that necessary. So in the gi, we talked about this. In no gi, I can just start to break his posture, and that will allow me to bypass that grip eventually and go to work. So that's how you deal with somebody grabbing both of your feet.